Welcome back to the Bodhi Bros. I say back because we've been gone on a hiatus, sabbatical, tomato, potato, whatever. I'm John with a J.
I'm Phoenix Ray. Bodhi Mania is back. Woo!
Dripping Bodeliciousness over here. See
You know what they say? The Phoenix always rises again.
whoa,
And what happens when that Phoenix rises? It always comes back stronger, right?
burn shit down, baby.
That's right.
It's time to light shit up, burn it down, get up so we can get
Yeah.
down. So basically, just life happened, right? Well, I mean, we can sum it up here. Life happened, and we didn't record an episode 1 week, and then another week went by, and that turned into 4 months. And then I think Ray and I were like, "Hey, man, missed the Bodhi Bros." He's like, "Yeah, me too. I think I'm gonna get Wi-Fi again." And I was like, "What? You're gonna get what? What? You lost Wi-Fi?" So we weren't disconnected, but we were just, I think, doing life stuff. I can't speak for Ray, but I could, because we haven't even really talked for a while, and we didn't even talk about what we were going to do on this episode. I said, how about we do what we always say we're going to do and hit record, and then talk about what the reboot's going to be, what it's going to look like, what are we doing, why haven't we been doing, what's next. So I've already babbled too much. Ray, give us a little insight about where you've been, why maybe we
Well, I mean, like you
stopped.
said, life stuff. I've had some good impactful stuff going on. I did a recertification with Access Bars, and that was just a tremendous experience. And I had a lot of resistance going into that too. A lot of resistance because I got certified. It was like over 3 years ago, almost 4 years ago, and that was like, and I didn't do anything with it, and I just kind of had some like stuff thinking like, oh, why do I want to go through this again? I didn't do anything with it before because this was like right at the beginning of like 20. This is right before 2020 actually that I did this, and then everything. I went through a whole bunch of crap after that, and so I think I had a little bit of trauma. So, but I went there, and I met this remarkable teacher, and it wasn't even some. And now this has nothing to do with Access Bars. This is just a teacher. She's also a channeler and a medium, and this is stuff that I didn't really believe in at the time, which was negative entities, what do you want to call them, attachments, certain things that were kind of like parasitical things that were like feeding off me, which they do. They feed off your emotions. They feed off that trauma. That's like their food. And I guess she was able to see them on me. Now, granted, I've been able to see them too, sometimes on people here and there, but it was one of those things like I could do, but I don't really ever like really acknowledge because it didn't really fit into the paradigm of my beliefs at the time. And she cleared all that stuff for me. She was like, "You have this stuff. Do you want it gone?" I'm like, "Yeah." And it's just stuff. And she was just basically just seeing it and using my intent to release it. And I was releasing. I mean, within the first like 15 minutes, I was like, "Whoa!" Like released all this stuff within like the first 15 minutes there. And that, before we even got into the access stuff. And it was just like, wow. I left that just feeling like total, just a crazy high. I felt like so free. I felt like just all this stuff was just taken off me. I just felt incredibly lighter. And it's sometimes like I think we don't really notice that. It comes kind of like if you wear like a heavy backpack every day, after a while you get accustomed to it, and you think that's normal.
Yeah.
And it's like that heavy backpack gone, and it was just like wow, like, and just other stuff I learned with access consciousness too. I mean, the bars. I don't know if you know anything about access bars, John.
No. I've heard the terms, and some people that I enjoy the company the most of have talked about it, yourself included, but I've never really invested time or attention to learn more about it.
Highly recommend anyone listening to this, watching this, get this done. Seek out a practitioner. So we all have certainties and beliefs about certain things in our life. Let's say money, our body, our age, receiving, giving, all these different things, and there are certain points in the head, almost like I don't know, I would say like pressure points, sort of in the that correlate with these certain aspects of what we believe. We have certainties.
Oh no.
And when you stimulate these parts, it kind of like deletes the cookies. Did you hear me?
Yeah, you froze for a second, but we're back.
Okay. So it kind of deletes the cookies on that. So let's say like money. Some people have certainties with money, like money is hard to get, it's hard to make money, or that money's bad. Whatever certainties you have about money that are blocking your ability to receive money, this kind of just clears it. And it's simple. It's simple and easy. And I've had this done. I mean, I've had bars done on me before, like a few times. I remember like when I first had it done, it was like, wow. And I remember the next day I went through like a little bit of like a detox too, because it kind of detoxifies you, depending on how much stuff you have built up. You know, it's all you know, specific to you, individual. So
these certainties, right?
Mm-hmm.
How are they alleviated from you carrying them as a burden? What's the process? If you can give us a consolidated
of like how they start, how they got there.
Not how they start. No. More so like, all right, so you have these certainties.
Well,
you've identified, you're aware of them.
All it is really stimulating this stuff. And there's also too, there's a clearing statement, which is a mantra that you can use too as an individual. Like when you feel sort of closed off, you can say this mantra, which is right, wrong, good, bad, pod, poc, all nine shorts, boys, pobods, and beyonds. Now each of those, I'd have to go look at the book and like basically like look and see what all that is. I don't feel like doing that, but basically it's getting to the like the point of origin, the point of creation where you got to that belief, where you took on that belief of something, and then there's a point of destruction. That's the poc and the pod, and that's really is going in there and just blowing up, going right to the beginning of like when that first belief, that first thing happened, and it created this structure in your mind of like a certainty, like okay, this is how it is, you know, because when in Access too, they always say to stay in the question, because questions expand your consciousness. Questions are more important than answers, because when you have an answer to something, you can't really be changed. You said this is how it is, so it's all about destroying those structures,
right?
And so that consciousness can expand,
right? Busting through the
because 98% of what we think, because 98% of the things that we think and feel aren't really ours. We take it on from other people. And another great tool that I've been using is whenever I feel negativity, close off, I always ask, who does this belong to? Who does this belong to? And if I feel like a shift, like a space, then I realize it's not mine, that I've absorbed as an empath. I took it on, and I'm identifying with it. So when I say this, who does this belong to? And I feel something, then I say, return to sender, return to sender, return to sender with love and compassion. And I release it. It's so simple. It's almost so simple that I think we disregard things like that, because I think a lot of times part of it is we want something that's complex. We think it doesn't work if it's simple. We don't think it works. We want something that's complex. We want something that's going to be like, you know, I don't know, go meditate for 3 hours and standing on your head.
Right, because that's part of the program. That's part of the certainties too. That's part of the old programming. And this is the stuff that you and I talked about over and over again before we took our little break. And then you went your way, I went my way, just to do life stuff. We never broke the boat. Hey, to be clear, folks, the bros never broke up. Without even talking about it, we just kind of needed to drift on another path for a little bit. And it's so fucking awesome, because you discovered the same things that I discovered when we weren't even talking, but in totally different environments, arenas, through teachers, etc. What you call certainties, I'm going to call limiting beliefs.
Yeah, same thing.
Right? Okay. That's what I ended up focusing on, because my journey brought me to that. And you and I talked about this. I'm like, all right, man, I get the shadow work. Love the completion process. Great. Parts work. Great. All the stuff. Great. Did it serve me well? Absolutely. Can it serve you or others well? For sure. Okay. That said, I felt like I was getting stuck. And I'm like, I'm doing this. I'm doing it. Like, okay, it's great, but like I don't feel great. My life doesn't look or beam with just that vitality and that excitement that I've known before and that I'm looking for. And I'm like, what is missing? And we've said this over and over again. I'm like, there's something else, man. There's another modality, something that hasn't been created yet, or maybe something that has. And because we overcomplicate things, it's all simple stuff that we've lost our way to. And let's bring it back to where we always go, Ray, sprinkling loving awareness on it, because it could be what you just talked about. Is it sounds that simple, that you are bringing an attention and not just an awareness, but also an acknowledgement, a loving one, like, hey, this is here. This is my certainty. This is my limiting belief, right? And I found this phrase through another teacher, through a friend, right? And she was talking about, and I'm like, okay, this is what's making sense for me now. I'm not going to bounce back to perpetually positive Pepe, the bulldozing, the spiritual bypassing maniac, excuse me. But I'm also not going to stay stuck in dark shadow work. Everything's trauma, and I have to clear all this stuff. I have to work on all this before I can have some grand life. Nonsense. Right. There's got to be something beautiful in the middle. And so with my friend that I was talking to, I was like, look, I've been talking about this for years, and like, can't just have some positive focus? Can't we do that again without bypassing, without, denying, right, disowning, suppressing, whatever things that come up? And she's like, yeah, absolutely. And the long story short there is what we came to, Ray, was that period of time, all that work and all that investment into the inner children, into that hard, difficult stuff, was important to connect with, so that when you're doing your positive focus stuff, when you're starting to manifest now, you're doing it from a more clean and clear slate, and can be very genuine because now you know what you truly want, right? Versus calling in stuff or focusing energy on stuff that you think you want, or that you may feel like you have to have or have to do for other people. And a lot of that clarity came from going through the trenches of that dark, sludgy stuff. But as you and I've discussed, there's dangers in staying there. There's also dangers in being blindly, perpetually positive. So to find that sweet spot down the middle, man, I think it's beautiful that you found the tools,
and like what you said too about what you really want coming from a pure place. If we haven't done the trauma work, then what we're trying to do is we're either trying to get something or get rid of something. We're trying to fill a void, either created by that trauma, or we're trying to get something to get rid of that. Or like sometimes we want something, but it's not really like the reason why we want something. We got to ask why we want something, because we think we want what we want, but we want of how that thing is going to make us feel. So we say like, I need to become a billionaire, or I need to become famous. Well, why do you need that? You don't really want the fame. I think you really want what you think that fame is going to give you.
Right.
Or you want that new car. You're like, I need a Lamborghini. Why do you want the Lamborghini? Because you think it's going to give you, people are going to be more attracted to you. People are not going to like abandon you.
Right.
If you're rich and you're famous, so it makes you give you a sense of safety. So you want security, you want safety. Those are the things you really want. And I think that book that you read too, great book that was Untethered Soul, talks about that a lot.
Yeah.
Where why do you want what you want? Right. What are you really, really wanting beneath that thing that you're trying to get?
And remembering that whole time that you're that light, you're that everlasting, eternal light behind all those voices, all that trauma, all that stuff that you hear constantly. It never turns off in your head, right? And just when it becomes overwhelming, and when just saying to yourself, having that internal monologue of, I am that, oh gosh, I'm getting this stuff's popping up. I must have resistance, Ray. McAfee's like, you have a virus thing, blah, blah, blah. Oh gosh, it's coming over the screen right now. Come on, dude, stop it. See, I told you this laptop is insane. It's time to upgrade. Anyway, I feel like, what was I saying?
We're talking talking about the untethered soul, about like why do you
All
want
right.
what you
Just
want?
reminding yourself of that internal monologue that I am behind all that, watching all of this and not getting caught up in the monkey mind of that all and all of the trying everything, because it's, it's never, I don't want to say it's never going to go away, but there's a more beautiful way to color that idea. It's that it's just another beautiful part of me, right? You're not trying
Yeah,
to get rid of things that have caused you or that are causing you, um, depression or sadness or whatever in your life that's difficult to to maybe feel. You're just coming closer to it so that you can understand it, because the range of human emotions is always going to be upon us in one way or another. We're not going to get rid of sadness. We're not going to get rid of grief and shit. It's just connecting more intimately to those parts of us that may be difficult at times to feel, right? And so here we are today. Let's back up for a minute, because you hit on something that you sent me a message about, and I would love for you to share as a very simple sentiment, but I mean, profoundly hit me right in the chambers floor over here, man. And that was about fame. When we're talking about the Bodhi Bros reboot, what are we going to do? Like, I think we had it right in the beginning where we reviewed videos of some spiritual teachers and then gave our take on it. And that was fun. That was great. And I actually looked at the channel today to see where we started and where we took it. Ray, I think we're at like this is ridiculous. If this was a season now, this reboot, it would be season 6 or 7.
yeah.
In the short period of time we've done this. And we've done so much experimenting and this and that. But the one thing you touched on is the fame thing. Talk about that for a second.
Oh, well, I mean, like doing this podcast, whether it's gonna be a podcast or just YouTube stuff, is I don't care about becoming famous. I just want to serve. I want to serve you, the people listening to watching this, best to my capacity. That's what I really want, because that's what gives me fulfillment. That what gives me the enjoyment is how to serve you. So really, I want to approach this of how to serve you in the best way and make it fun. We have fun together. I don't want to be like, I think a little bit when we went off doing the teacher's evaluation to just doing like different topics every week. That was good for the first couple of weeks, but then it kind of became a little bit like it's hard to come up with a topic each week, to talk about. Then I felt like I was doing like homework. I was feeling like, okay, we got to do a show on, this chakra or this. So it's like, oh, I feel like I have a school project. And then I feel like I'm coming here like, okay, I got to read my notes and I have to be serious now and I have to like, do this. And, I mean, it felt like it didn't flow.
Yeah.
But at the same time, though, you have to have some sort of structure, I think, a little bit. And so I think that's why we went to pulling cards and using a card as a way to like, hey, let's have a topic. What are we going to talk about? Because sometimes we don't always have something to like really to talk about, always. And so we would pull a card and be like, okay, this could be a reading or this can't be, if you want to use it as a reading, and we'd pull a card and is basically just use that to kind of stimulate a conversation and kind of go about that. I think that was good. But I don't know. I don't know where we're gonna do next. I don't. We're still kind of in that. Going forward.
Yeah, and that's what we decided today. We're like, let's get our devices up and rolling. Let's roll the tape. We don't need practice or anything. And we always, at the end of some of our greatest talks, are like, man, we should have been recording this. This was gold. So this time we're learning from our past blunders and just hit record. And talking, to our audience too today. Like for those of you that were plugged in and looked forward to our episodes and stuff, whether you watched us or listened to us or whatever, whether if it was weekly or once a month, whatever it was, if there was something that you enjoyed, if there's something that you would like to see that wasn't there, please let us know. Hit us up on any of the platforms that make sense: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, even. Whatever makes sense for you, and we're always and will forever remain open to listening and shifting if we need to, and we have in the past taken ideas from our audience for sure. And to just to before we abandon the fame topic, I think one of the things that we ended up doing, just through the excitement of it all, is we put the cart before the horse, so to speak. I guess that's the right cliche, because we were like, man, if we want to touch all these people and we want to do this great work around the world and have the retreats that we fantasized about, and bringing people together and creating a community and a tribe of sorts, whatever, around the work that we're doing and the content that we're putting out there, like we need to be famous, right? But that's just, and you know me, I was doing the comedy and stuff. I was very dedicated to grabbing fame so that I could support myself and my family financially through an artistic medium that I believed in. But again, that really wasn't the goal. And as you know, I mean, our audience might not know, but like, I don't necessarily think fame is what I want, because with fame comes a lot of just, you know, just heaviness, and you lose your privacy. And we've had personal friends that we know get famous and their lives forever changed, and not in the most desirable of ways either. So,
Right.
so I just want to echo what you said, right? Like I want to show up the way you want to show up, and that's helping that one person that's listening right now, you know, in some way, or
We're here for you.
not necessarily help, but entertain, you know, make you smile, make you laugh, touch you in a way that just, you know, you needed to connect with, you know, and
Oh yeah,
and
100%.
and that's all. I mean, I told my daughter that I need to practice what I preach. I tell my daughter growing up, you know, it only takes one person. You know, when we used to do the farmers markets together, when things were slow, whatever, I'm like, it only takes one person. Maybe not to make $1,000, but to make this day extraordinary in a way that you'll never recover from, because it was so magical, that interlude that you had with that one person in that one moment, you know? And if that's all the
Oh
Bodhi
yeah.
Bros do, well then, hallelujah, you know, amen. And can I get a hell yeah from the congregation? Like then that's, I feel like, you know, and that we have fun. And right before I came into my room, you know, I'm roommates with my brother now. We share this big house together. It's wonderful. He knew where I was going. He said, "Hey man," I said, "What?" He goes, "Have fun." And this keeps coming to me from all sorts of people. I mean, it's a simple message, and you think, okay, yeah, he said have fun. But for me in the moment, I was like, gosh, man, that was so perfect that he just said that. Someone said that to me on the disc golf course the other day, right? She said, "Hey," I turned around. This like she had a message for me, just like my brother did. She's like, "Just try to keep it in the fun way versus the fair way," right? And I was like, "Oh
Right.
man," like that's why I hated golf, because I would get so frustrated and serious about hitting the ball right and this and that. I loathed playing golf, but here I am loving at the other side of the rainbow playing disc golf, because it's just, I love throwing the frisbee and I love being outside, and I don't have to hit the ball a certain way or throw the disc a certain way. You just show up and play, man. It's just so
Yeah.
glorious. So yeah, having fun, being of service, and not focused on, and the other stuff, if it comes, it comes, and we'll deal with it when and if we have to deal with it. But if not, I would also say, and I think you'd agree, one of our favorite things about doing this podcast was us being able to connect with each other once a week.
Oh, 1,000,000%. Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, that's what I missed about, you know, we were not doing the show, is our connection together, and, you know, talking to you every week and everything, and just, you know, yeah, for sure.
I named one of my
For sure.
I named one of my trees after you, man.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah, I've been connecting more and more with the garden as I stay here and live here more and more. You know, it's my brother's house; it's his property. But now that I'm here and I'm in charge of the garden and stuff, and I'm releasing resistance to it not being a permanent residence, and thinking, oh, it's going to be temporary, I'm going to have to go do something else. Well, temporary, schmemporary, who knows how long I'll be here? If I'm here for another 6 months or 6 years, like that doesn't matter. What matters now, and that I'm embracing, is being here now entirely. And
Right.
that means getting my feet in the soil and listening to the plants. And the other day, I had such a lovely time in the garden, and the plants, as they will, if you're listening, will talk to you. And they were all like, hey, my name's this. Hey, my name's that. And I was like, okay, everyone gets a name today. Like,
Hmm.
here we go. And then one day I'll get to show you the tree that's named after you.
All right.
So, well, you said I feel like we have to. I mean, like it's, even though we haven't defined what we're clearly doing moving forward, you said you have a deck. I mean,
All right. Well, actually, you know what? I want to talk a little about tarot cards and oracle cards
let's do that.
because that's not so something came up. So I've been doing cards. I was doing cards more lately, like well after when we took our hiatus, and I kind of like I had some realizations. I realized this: the energy, what the response you get from cards is equal to the level of the vibration, equal to the frequency from which you're asking from. So if what vibe you're in when you're asking a question will correlate with what you're getting back in return. So if you're like asking things that are kind of like petty, things out of like maybe a little bit of a desperation or a fear, that's what you're going to get back in return. That's the energy that's going to come back to you in that.
Right.
So I guess these are a little bit of warnings for people who just pull cards because I used to hate when people say like, you know, I tell people I pull tarot cards, oracle cards, and people would be like, sometimes people would be like, yes, Satanism, and you know, and people would be like, you know how it is, blah blah blah. Oh well, shoot, we only have 10 minutes left.
Yeah, that's okay. We don't have to pull cards. Let's talk about what
All
you're
right.
talking about.
Well, I was talking about this. So the thing is though, you really have to be in a very clear space when you pull a card and be very certain of your intent of like why you're pulling a card, of why, and also who you're asking to pull a card. Are you just asking randomly like the universe? So, because you don't know what you're asking. Basically, you're asking this. It's the same as if you're asking some random person on the internet. If you're doing that way for advice, for life advice, and you
Right.
don't know who you're getting on the other side.
Right.
So, I think that you also need to build a relationship with spirit outside of tarot cards. Don't just rely on that just to communicate with spirit or your higher self. You have to have other practices besides just relying on that because it would be like us talking. Now, let's say you received a random text from me. It's like, hey, this is Ray. How would you know that's me? How would you know?
Right.
So if your only means of connecting with the universe or connecting with spirit is just tarot cards, oracle cards, you don't really know who's on the other side. You don't know what you're answering to because I don't want to get really religiously, but I mean anything like that. But there are entities that will dupe you and give you wrong stuff, purposely do this stuff. And especially if you're coming from a low vibration, if you're coming from like if you're asking gossipy or questions or petty type stuff or like that. So you really kind of have to come from almost maybe come from a meditative space beforehand and open your heart before you even ask something, and then have the intention of like who you're asking. You know, you're asking your spirit guides, your higher self, um, maybe whatever your face of God is. So it's important because what happened to me, and this is also too is like why I don't really so much pull cards for myself. I pull cards for mostly for other people because I connect with that compassion. I have compassion for whoever that person is I'm pulling a card for. And what I do is I connect with their spirit guide and I ask their spirit guide to pull the card for me. That's how I usually do it. For me though, I went through a phase where I was pulling cards for myself and it got scary accurate. I mean, it was so accurate where I was pulling cards and it would come up like, but I was pulling cards like, okay, what's tonight going to be like? What to expect tonight? What's going to have this week? You know, I started pulling for like this random stuff like that.
Right.
And it was so accurate. I was like, whoa. So I was going for somebody to, like, I don't want to say like it's an event, somebody where there was a risk of danger. This person is somebody is a human trafficking survivor, somebody who's kind of on the run. So there is a risk. There was like a risk of danger meeting with this person. So, of course, I was a little nervous. So I had pulled a card, and it kept coming with cruelty, and it kept coming with I think what it was a cruelty, and I pulled like disappointment, and I was like, what? oh my God, what's going to happen? And I remember the next day, I even pulled it in the morning, and I got the same thing, cruelty. And I'm thinking like, and it put that thought in my mind, especially because before that, everything was so accurate. I'm thinking, oh my God, what's going to happen? Am I in some kind of danger? Something's because I'm meeting up with this person in a group, and it could be, who knows what's going to happen. There's people after this person too. This person, and I was like, oh my God, what's going to, and it kind of put me in that low vibration. So it kind of put me in a low vibe. So I went there and I met this person, and this is where I got this from. And it was a great experience. There was nothing negative about this experience at all. It was a wonderful time, and just with wonderful people. And I believe this person is a true angel on this earth doing God's work. And I look back at this card I pulled, I'm like, what the heck was that all about? And like, none of that was true. And I was almost like thinking like, well, was I set up, did I connect with something that was negative, that something that wasn't right, that gave me that card? Maybe that whatever I was connecting with, maybe they were giving me all these super correct information just to set me up for something that would be, putting that in my mind that something bad was going to happen. Because, especially when you're getting something accurate, you pull something negative, you can manifest that now, because now that's in your mind. If you pull a card and you're like, oh, I'm going to go for a job interview. What I pull? Disappointment. Oh my God, what's going to happen? I'm not going to get it. And you end up sabotaging yourself. So yeah, I still pull cards, but I don't really pull cards so much for myself unless I really, really need to, because I think there's an evolution of faith that takes place in you, that you just have faith. You have faith of where you're at, and you have faith in the universe. You have faith in God. And when that faith is strong enough, you don't need to rely on cards. I'm not saying you dish your intuition at all, but I'm saying you don't need to, oh my God, what's going to happen? I need to answer. What's going to happen then? You have that faith. You carry that because whatever you're going to meet, you.
And one of the things that I'm hearing
through
all this that you just shared, which I'm glad we steered the ship in this direction, because this is really good stuff to consider and to sit with, was being very, very, if you're going to pull cards for yourself or for others, just challenging yourself to find another level of intimacy as you do this, both with yourself, with the other person, with spirit, the universe, whatever name or spirit guides, like you said, but being more and more clear and clearing yourself more and more as possible, so that the two channels will align and there aren't other disturbing interferences or people interjecting, or entities or whatever interjecting something that would steer the ship in a really non-beneficial direction, so to speak. And before we close, we only have about 2 or 3 minutes, it looks like, but you mentioned earlier asking yourself, is this mine? Is this someone else's? This was something else that came up in our time apart when I was talking to this friend, and we were diving into some really, really deep stuff. And, some of this stuff, as we connect with ourselves more deeply and we have a loving relationship, romantic, friend, other family, whatever, right? These things that you're feeling could be that person. Because if you really love someone, if you take someone entirely, right? Take their entirety as yourself, and the two become one, right? Then it's very possible that you're quite often feeling something from the other person.
Oh yeah.
Because you're that connected, right?
Oh yeah.
So, oh my gosh, dude, I just got a message from this person on my phone, just as I said that. That's so, dude, that's really cool, because I haven't gotten any messages today from that person, and there it is. So that was kind of dope. But yeah, man. See, this is why I said we need to hit record, because this was 40 minutes worth of no plan, but quality stuff to talk about, and also just an inquiry to our audience. What would you like to see more of? What would you like to see, that you've never seen from us before? Yeah. How can we be of service? And
maybe that should be the title of this.
Right. Hey, No, I loved it. And we just see, without stressing about it, just in a fun way, we stumbled upon something that sometimes takes us an hour or a half a day to decide what we're going to do. What kind of imagery are we going to put on it, Ray? What am I going to do on Canva or whatever?
Mm,
What am I going to do? What am I going to do?
I don't know.
Ooh, we'll see, right?
Right.
Well, I think it's a good time to wrap it up. Say supreme gratitude to you, of course, Ray, for keeping
Yeah.
the door open so the Bodhi Bros can live on and on. And also, our hearts go out to all of you for being patient and maybe coming back and giving us another look see. And we'll see where we go. Without any further ado, I'm John with a J.
I'm Phoenix Ray. Namaste.
See y'all soon.